Tonight's full-time review is supported by and brought to you by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. Aberdeen have now gone 10 league games without a win after yesterday's heartbreaking loss at St Mirren. Football is a cruel game, but there's no denying it. We are in freefall and staring down the barrel of an abyss. After yesterday's results, Aberdeen now find themselves in 10th position. We are 4 points off the relegation playoff place. And make no bones about it, it's getting worse and worse. Hi everybody, how are you doing this Sunday evening? Welcome to Ali Beg ABTV here on YouTube. This is a pre-recorded review show of the St Mirren game that took place yesterday in Paisley. Today, I watched my youngest son, play in a football tournament here in Germany. In fact, he played over the border in Austria. And while watching him, I took my notebook with me, and I must have written at least half a dozen intros to tonight's show to try and make some sort of sense of what happened yesterday. And I've ripped every single one of them up. And I do not have one in front of me because I just don't know where to go with it. I cannot believe what happened to us. Even now, 24 hours on, I'm still feeling devastated. It was an absolute kick in the stomach. But it should never have happened. But it did. And we have to deal with it. And unfortunately, as it stands, we are going from bad to worse. So, what I've done is asked you as normal to leave your comments on my social media pages, which you have done. And thank you so much for doing that. You've left, there's a number of comments on there. And it's a collective. Everybody's feeling absolutely gutted. So I'm going to do my very best tonight to read out most of your comments. So what I've also done is I've spoken to big Aberdeen fan, originally from the northeast of Scotland. He's now a Hollywood movie director, Jon S Baird. He's a great guy. And John and I discussed the Dons' current predicament. And he spoke very passionately about the Dons. And it's an interview I really don't want you to miss. So that interview is a good sort of 12 and a half minutes long. So it takes up quite a big chunk of the show. But then I'm going to leave the rest of the show to you guys, to your comments. So tonight could be an extended show. So before we do all the usual bits and pieces, I just want to just give you some thoughts, really. First of all, there are a number of issues which I think that we have to address, and that the football club have to address, and the players particularly have to address. There is a serious lack of belief, which is now very telling in our performances. And I also believe, and funnily enough, John and I actually discussed this, but I was thinking about it today actually. I think there's a fear factor creeped into our game since the cup final. There is absolutely no consistency, be it with our play or particularly with our team lineups. And we'll come to the team in just a moment. There is zero confidence in the side, and there is zero fight in the side. And that can only be addressed by the players and the manager. So, let's start with the team that Neil Warnock picked yesterday, which I have absolutely no issues with whatsoever. I thought this was I thought the team was okay, to be honest with you. So he made 4 changes. Nicky Devlin, Killian Phillips, Junior Hoylett and Duke came in. Jamie McGrath, Leighton Clarkson, Johnny Hayes and Jack Milne all dropped down to the bench. So for me, there were absolutely no issues with that side whatsoever. This is what Neil Warnock said after the game. Today was an improvement on what we've had, but it's very difficult to talk straight after the game like this because I'm absolutely distraught. I'm so disappointed we were beaten in the way it happened. But they've set a standard today. That's how you should defend. We need to carry on in that vein and keep getting better. So to be honest with you, again, I have no issues with what he said yesterday. Was the performance an improved performance? Yes, it was. But it was only improved. It wasn't greatly improved or muchly improved. It was just improved on what we have seen in recent weeks. Where I am extremely baffled and also a little bit annoyed, I have to be honest, is why he decided to take off our width in Duke and Junior Hoylett and then go to 5 at the back with still a good 30 minutes of the game to go. For me, that is handing everything to St Mirren. It's giving them the impetus to attack. Psychologically, it may have made Stephen Robinson think, they're just going to sit in now. So they're not going to go for the second goal. And even though we had chances to score a second goal, Bojan, who's obviously not playing with much confidence at the moment, but can you blame him? And Killian Phillips had a great chance as well on the volley, just inside the 18-yard box. It's such a shame he was just leaning back that little bit too much, which obviously gave the ball its height. So we had our chances. So the first goal, the penalty. Look, I'm sick and tired of talking about VAR and penalties and all this. All I care about is that Nicky Devlin should have taken care of it. It should never even have come down to a penalty decision. Personally, I don't think it was a penalty. I just think it was a good old-fashioned 50-50, two players coming together, and it just so happened they fell to the deck. You know, we could be here all night talking about whether it was a penalty or not. I'm just sick of it. I really am. Anyway, it was given, they scored. From there, we should have taken care of the closing stages, as in man management of the game. But we didn't, because we did not keep the ball. We gave it away cheaply, again, which gave them the opportunity to attack us down the wing. They throw a ball into the box, which goes right over the top of the goalkeeper. It gets headed back across the 6-yard box, where we've got a number of players, including our 2 centre-backs and our goalkeeper, and they do not deal with it. And for me, that's totally unacceptable. And if it means you get a kick in the ribs, you get a kick on the head, you get a dig in the family jewels, then absolutely be prepared to take it if it means you're not going to allow your opponent to score a goal. And for me, that's when I talk about zero fight. Because nobody took command of that situation. And again, I talk about it with John afterwards. You saw the reaction of Graham Shinnie. If you haven't seen it, take a look at the reaction of Graham Shinnie. He absolutely loses his mind. I felt so sorry for the Aberdeen fans yesterday that travelled down to Paisley, the 1,100 fans. Just devastating to go home after that defeat. So that's where we're at. Right, okay. Just before we get John on, I'm going to give you the match stats. We only enjoyed 32% of possession. We had 9 shots in total, of which 3 were on target, and we managed to muster 2 corners in the game. We made 88 successful passes to their 282. Passes in the final third, only 36 to their 121. Look at the touches, almost double. We had 392, they had 618. But look at the touches in the opposition box. Only 12. 12 touches in the opposition box. You know, I just, dearie me. Here we are again. I just absolutely despair. I really do. Right. Before we get to your comments, let's welcome John to the show. So if you missed the top of the show, just let me introduce him to you again. So Jon was born in Aberdeenshire, raised in Aberdeenshire. He's a huge Aberdeen fan and is now a hugely successful Hollywood movie director and TV director. So he's directed movies such as Filth, Stan and Ollie, which was about Laurel and Hardy, and more recently Tetris, which he also filmed in and around Aberdeen. And more recently, he directed the brilliant ITV drama, three-part drama Stonehouse, which was absolutely sensational. So he's a great guy. He speaks very passionately during this interview and does use the the odd swear word. So don't be offended. Welcome to the show, Jon S Baird. Hi, Jon. It's lovely to see you as always. Thank you so much for jumping on because I know you're a very busy man with various projects going on. Right. I have to ask you for your thoughts on our current predicament.
Kind of a bit in shock, really, because it seems to have fallen off a cliff. I mean, it wasn't brilliant before, but whenever the cup final was December or whenever it was, it seems to have plummeted so quickly. If you could graph it out, it seems to have just the morale, the standard, everything has plummeted so quickly. And I know there's been, I know it's a longer sort of burn than that, but this last, I don't know, whatever it was, 5 games or whatever, really, the last few Robson games and certainly all the Warnock's games, the players seem to have just lost all belief in what they were supposed to be doing. And they're not terrible players. We've got some incredible footballers in there. The defence, I don't think is brilliant, but certainly, or some of our midfield and in our forwards, we've got some class players. I think what has happened, there's been a dereliction of duty that has happened, particularly since Warnock has come in, in the manner of that appointment and the manner of the style of management that has been a circus, really, and a one-man circus who's come in and made it all about him. It's interesting with Warnock, when you see his interviews, okay, if you see his interviews transcribed, look at how many times he says the word I or I've or opinion or it's all about that. It's never we. Yes. or it's never it's I think this and I think this, and for me it's been a big lie. He started off by saying, "Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun." We don't want to have any fucking fun. We don't want to have fun. We want to have a decent team that has got a manager that leads by example and can take it on the chin if things are going wrong, right? And doesn't throw his players under a bus, and doesn't treat our club like some kind of joke, and primarily coming in at the very beginning and saying, "Oh, my best mates are," like his first game, right? Yeah. His first game against Rangers away. "Oh, my best mates are all Rangers fans, and they'll hear, oh, we'll have a good laugh tonight," and blah, blah, blah. Started with that shite, and then it started getting a little bit more, okay, scapegoating the players, and I can't see us doing this, and I mean, listen, I'm a film director, right? I've got to go out there in front of sometimes 100, 200 people, right? Whether it's actors, whether it's crew, whether it's whoever, yeah? If I started quoting my actors or my crew and stuff like that, I'd last 2 minutes, right? I'd last 2 minutes and the movie would fold and I'd be fired. Because you cannot, as someone in a position of responsibility, who's supposed to set an example, who's supposed to be the one. He talks like a pundit, right? He comments on our team as though he's a pundit looking at, and he's got no responsibility for this, right? And for me, this looks as though it's just been a quick jolly for him, a terrible, terrible appointment. But we're here now. We're here in a situation, and it's okay for me to slag off Warnock and stuff. But what are we going to do? What is the next move? We're not going to get another manager in before the end of the season. So it's now okay. So what does Warnock do to turn this around, right? What does he do because we're in a worse position than I think we're in a worse position than we were going into the 95 relegation battle. And I remember that very clearly, and I'm sure you do as well, Ali, right?
Yeah.
And the players we had there, and the style of management, and just what was going on at the club, it's a different thing. I'm scared. I'm scared with this lot, But it's up to the fans as well. The fans have got to come out and do what we did back then. But some of the best atmospheres I've ever seen at Pittodrie was that relegation season. You remember it?
Yes, the Dundee
Those
United
last few
game in
games.
particular, the Dundee United game.
Dundee United game and that Dunfermline playoff game as well, right? The Dundee, those two games are, and the fans really turned up for that, right, and got behind. But you had players like McKimmie and Stevie Glass and Joe Miller and Theo Snelders was our keeper back then, right? Theo you had quality players who you felt were a bit. I mean, you're looking around the team now and you're like, but this is a different style of footballer now, right? And therefore you need a different style of manager. You can't have this dinosaur coming in and slating him, especially somebody like Miovski, who has been incredible for us. We're lucky to have this guy.
Yeah.
You can't throw this guy under a bus. This is a guy who's going to get you out of the relegation, So it's a style of management and it's a style of decision coming from the top that has been a horrendous experiment and has turned into a circus,
Okay, John, I've got to ask you then, because, and this is a what if question. What
Yeah.
if we get knocked out the cup on Saturday? And what if we then lose to Dundee in midweek the following Wednesday, which will then take us to 11 league games without a win, 7 games without a win for Neil Warnock, and only 1 win under his belt, which came against Bonnyrigg
Yeah.
in the Scottish Cup. So what if that happens? Does he stay, or do they need to get rid of him?
That is a question I'm scared to answer that, because we seem to have been a club that call for, like, everybody was on Glass's case, everybody was on Robson's case. We're an entitled support, really, Aberdeen, because we've been spoiled, right? Everybody knows that, right? We are entitled, but I love that. I love the fact that we had that great success and we feel entitled, and great. Whoever's coming in should feel our desire to win. And when you're walking through the door of that club, this is not a joke. This is not somewhere to have fun. This is the famous Aberdeen, right? Okay. And Warnock and all these guys who've never really won anything should realize what they're coming into here, and the history and the pride that we have in our club. So I don't know what the situation is. I would love to think that Warnock, somewhere in Warnock, is a bit of steel, that he recognizes that what he's done in his style of management so far has not worked at all with this group of players, right? It may have worked. It actually may have worked with the 95 players, because you could have had guys there that would have taken us on the chin, and that kind of hard, old school management, right? The hairdryer treatment that he's maybe famous for would have worked. This isn't what he's a 77-year-old man who is trying to use tactics that he used back in the 90s with players that some of them weren't even born in the fucking 90s,
Yeah.
So he has to. Something's got to happen. I would be frightened to change the manager again now, unless my old mate McLeish or somebody came in, right? Right? I don't think he would, but that would be somebody who I go, right, get him in for the last whatever and see if we can just shore up something. It might, and save us, because we're in that position now. We're in the relegation battle now. This is not ifs or buts. We are absolutely within that battle now, in my opinion. Right?
Let me ask you about the players, because yesterday, and I know that you were away and you didn't catch the game.
No.
So, what I was worried about yesterday, first and foremost, I could not understand for the life of me why Neil took off our width when I thought we were actually doing okay and both lads were actually playing okay, and then put us to 5 at the back with still a good 30 minutes to go, which to me just invites pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part of blame that I lay at his feet, but I
Mm-hmm.
also can't help but think that the players need to stand up and be counted an awful lot
Oh,
more. That we can argue the toss about the penalty, whether it was a penalty or not, but it was a split second decision that Nicky Devlin made, and I don't think Nicky has covered himself in glory in the past few weeks. And the equalising goal, it's just I don't know what the centre backs are doing. I don't know what the goalkeeper is doing. And to me, nobody seems to be taking any amount of responsibility during that 90 minutes. There's only one player for me that's doing that. That's Graham Shinnie. The rest
Shinnie,
of
yeah. Well,
them,
you saw his reaction to the
yeah,
you saw
exactly.
his reaction, to the
Exactly.
goal and stuff, right? And
John, what
Shinnie's
I'm
always
worried
been,
about is we're
yeah,
carrying too many passengers. And
yeah.
these guys do not have, and I hate to use the word bottle, maybe I shouldn't use the word bottle, let's say bravery. I don't think
Mm,
they've got the bravery to get us out of this. And that
mm.
scares me to death.
Well, and I listen, I agree, and it goes back to my point. If we don't have the players to do it, the manager has to listen. If I'm my job as a film director, right? I'll go on a set, and you've got a script, and the most horrendous feeling you can do is when you're rehearsing a scene before you shoot it, and everybody knows this scene doesn't work, whether it's not funny or it's not dramatic enough or it's not sad enough or something, and you're looking, and everybody's looking at you. Everybody's looking at you, right? Because you are the one, the director. You are the one who is the camera in the wrong place? Are the actors, have they got the wrong tone? If they got, like, you have to make these split decisions and go, I can't walk out on a set and go, oh well, I don't fancy this scene being in a fucking film. You can't say that in front of and I'm using that as an analogy, right? For
Mm,
what a manager has to do. He has, however bad he thinks his players are and stuff, he has to try and find a way of working with the tools he's got. Bad workman always blames his tools, right? He has got to find a way of getting whoever it is and finding that thing in Majowski or in Duke or in Clarkson or in whoever else, right? That goes, I'm going to make this guy believe he's a fucking Superman and he's
yeah.
got way more pride than he's shown just now. Because a lot of these players, okay, they've lost a bottle, but it's a collective, right? That's a collective because they're feeling it from a stands. They're not getting it for whatever reason from the confidence in that. There's one person who needs to sort it out, and that's the manager of the football team.
Mm,
So we're stuck with this guy. Okay, he's supposed to be this big personality, this guy. He needs to step up now and do that because the players are the players. We're not going to sign a whole load of different players now. These are the players, right? Some of them are very technically gifted guys. They just need to be taken to a side or a few of them together, and you need to work out how it is that you can galvanize these people because that's your fucking job.
yeah. Yeah. John,
You know.
thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on. And thank you for giving us your insights. Really appreciate it. And the very best of luck with your current projects. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll see you again very soon.
And hopefully we'll see you again in the Premier League next year.
Exactly. Top man, John. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Take
Take
care.
care. The brilliant Jon S Baird. Thank you so much for coming on, John. If you're enjoying tonight's show, please don't forget to press the old like button. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd be very grateful if you would please consider subscribing to ABTV here on YouTube. We've added over 130 new subscribers just in the past 28 days. So thank you so much to all of you who have recently jumped on board. It really does mean a great deal. Right, just before we get to your comments, a few folk have asked me about Dave Cormack's tweet thing that he said on X last night. To me, it was a non-entity. Look, he's in a no-win situation here. He's damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the situation I think he's in. He should have come out a while ago and addressed the fans. I think he's been badly advised in that point of view. I was a bit disappointed with what he had to say. Couldn't give a damn about the Frankfurt game. It's long gone. Yeah, it was a great win against a team that had already qualified. It was a dead rubber. And to even mention the League Cup final, I'm sorry, but come on. We didn't have a single shot on target in the League Cup final. And his closing line, about we don't do walking away. For me, it's just a cheap shot to try and get Aberdeen fans on board. Just no need for it. So, yeah, I just thought it was a non-entity. But as I said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right. Let's get to your comments. By golly. There were so many came in. Right. I don't think I'll get through all of them, but I'll do my best to try and get through most of them at least. Okay. Derek Griffiths has said, I'm absolutely still raging today. Was at the game yesterday. The ref couldn't wait to give every single decision to St Mirren, but to concede a second is just pure crazy. Never felt like that after a game for a long time. Murray Wright said alarm bell should have been ringing when Dave Cormack named the training complex Cormack Park. It clearly should have been named after Sir Alex Ferguson or Willie Miller. To get rid of Dell, one of the safest pair of hands in Scottish football, was madness, and I said it at the time. He said, honestly, I've never been as dejected since the 9-0 defeat at Parkhead. Harry Gray said, I'm a great admirer of Bojan and goodness knows where we would be without him. I do, however, wonder if the team stopped relying on him as much as they do. Would they stop playing hoofball for him to run onto? Would the managers have been forced into playing two up front and tried to play faster passing football on the ground? So the question for your programme is whether Bojan is a huge asset on the field or a hindrance at times. He will, of course, be a huge financial asset when we sell him at the end of the season. Well, for me, we would not, to be honest with you, I think we would be worse off if it wasn't for Bojan Majowski's goals this season. I think he is a hugely improved player this season. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And I thank God we've got him, because I really don't know where we would be without him. Yes, he's having a dip in form, but which striker doesn't have a dip in form? He can be absolutely forgiven for that, and I have no doubt he'll be back very soon. But he needs help, and he needs the service, and more importantly, he needs a manager who encourages him. Fiona Callan said, the fact I would have been more shocked if we'd won the match says it all. Warnock is not and never was the answer. At a loss to see where we get a win from. Can't believe we have gone from competing and playing well in Europe to this. Scott Robertson said it's a head scratcher, but we can't complain about the penalty given as Shinnie does what the St Mirren fella did about half a dozen times every game. As I think you mean Devlin, right? As for the second goal, well, the fragility of the team won't have helped. But instead of just keeping the heat, we got the ball forward quickly and got hit on the counter. It was a real kick in the teeth. Donkey Wright said, watched the game when I got home from work last night. Oh my God, that was a hard one to take. Nothing is going for us. All we had to do was close out the game. But no, we found a way to lose it. No words. Darwin Klopper said, where do we start to make sense of that match? Score very early, cope well until deep into stoppage, then we lose not one but 2 goals in a minute. That's down to shoddy defending and poor tactics from the manager. Said from the get-go that Neil Warnock's appointment was a mistake. Any manager that comes to a team like Aberdeen and says let's have a laugh doesn't understand the pressure to succeed and get results. It's such a shame that we're not talking more about Connor Barron's wonder strike yesterday. It's one of the goals of the season for me, but of course it's all been forgotten about because of what happened. Gareth Mackey has said, thankfully I was working, but after seeing the highlights, it bamboozles me where the spirit and performance level was when we went toe-to-toe with some of Europe's top clubs. Even against Celtic, we showed some guts and dug in for a point under leaving. Stick to basics, a system that works and concentrates now on points for safety. Those are words I never thought I'd say about my beloved Dandies. Linda Hutton has said, I literally have no words anymore. 2 goals in a minute yesterday is an absolute nightmare. I remember 95 and 2000, and right now think I'm more scared than I've ever been. Don't see the fight in them if it comes to the playoff. I read a tweet today which said that it was a new Scottish Premiership record of a team holding on to a league for the longest amount of minutes, as in 95 minutes, and then losing the game. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I read it today. Gordon Ritchie has said, very hard to take St Mirren. Never looked like scoring, but VAR sorted it all out. There were 2 checks in the first half, so we knew there'd be a third one. Yeah. Jamie Murray said, I'm not surprised we lost that game. I'd messaged my chum to say I can't believe Warnock has changed the system to either 3 or 5 at the back as the game wore on, which is the worst decision to make when it's not worked all season. Jack Bruce said, just a shambles, no words. Will be a miracle if we don't get relegated at this rate. Dave Thou says, where do you start? The effort was there. However, when your main weakness is defending and conceding goals, why take off your natural width at 60 minutes and then set up to sit in and defend a lead? Doesn't make any sense. David Main says, I look at every game and think we can win this and get 3 points with the squad we have, but it just isn't happening for whatever reason. Now I'm looking at our next 5 fixtures and thinking with the squad we have, we can lose every single one. Malcolm Park said, we better start to believe that we're banging trouble. The players out there have no confidence at all. I'm now edging towards screw protests and getting at the players, managers and the board. Get behind the team. These things can come when we are safe. They're going to need the spirit of 95. For sure, everyone behind them all the way. Then we let them know to get this sorted right now. Let me come back to that. Let me come back to your comments. Just something on that. And funnily enough, I thought about it today. And I thought about, as John and I mentioned in his interview, about that spirit of 95, where all the fans really, really came together to help get the lads over the line. The game at Tynecastle that we won in the closing minutes, which was huge. And then obviously beating Dundee United at Pittodrie, which was also huge. And then getting over the line against Falkirk and Dunfermline in the playoffs. The fans were absolutely magnificent and we all came together as one. Now, here's my thinking. The players of 95, I think, had a completely different mentality. I think they were a lot more stronger psychologically than the players that we have today. And that's what worries me. I'm not sure the players are strong enough psychologically to get themselves out of this very deep hole that they've all dug themselves. Which means, and I really hope you understand where I'm coming from, they're going to need some help. And the only help they can get is from us, I think. And I think we need to get them over the line. And look, I've said this before time and time again. I do not speak on behalf of any Aberdeen fan. Who the hell am I to do such a thing? I'm just a humble fan, no better, no worse than you guys that sit at home. So I would like to think that we can all come together and really get behind the team. And I think what we have to think about is not booing the side during the game, not getting on the players' back. And this is when I go back to the fear factor, because I think because they're not strong enough psychologically, I think they're carrying that fear factor. And if we boo them and get on their backs, I think it makes the situation for them worse. That they're scared to death of making a bad pass. And if they do, what sort of reaction are they going to get from the fans and can they deal with it? Hence why I think we need to get absolutely right behind them. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we will not get behind them, because of course we'll get behind them. What I'm saying is we need to come together and get behind them probably like we've never, ever done before. I think that's what I'm saying anyway. I really hope that's coming across in the right way. Oh, I can't, it's mental, isn't it? It's just mental. Adrian Nelia said, tough game on Saturday, then the week after, confidence low. We lose that one, we really are in deep trouble. We have great support and they need us more now than ever. Must admit, I was raging yesterday how we took a lead and totally blew it. Exactly, Adrian. Kevin Neary said, yesterday's collapse is just not acceptable. Feel for the couple of players that are trying but getting no support from the rest. Ben Warner can put Leven back in charge to the end of the season. At least he seems to get something out of the players. Andrew Fraser said, I'm at a loss where to start. I admit, along with thousands of others, I championed Robson getting the job, and by and large, he was 6 out of 10. Likewise, I also wanted McInnes out. He was, in my opinion, comfortable. Board can't be blamed for those two decisions. The big question is, how do we move forward? Dave Cormack has spent a load of money, and I feel we've just entered last chance saloon. Right manager, right players. It's a huge job. Ewan Robertson said, short term, everyone needs to start pulling together, address the major issues like the individual mistakes, lack of confidence, and the horrendous passing stats. Long term, big inquest as to why this has happened. Recruitment on paper was good, but in reality has been poor. Need some players with some grit and a bit of character to get through tough periods like this. It's going to get very difficult. Jim Presley says, we are now officially a rudderless ship. No idea where we are going except down. Nothing from the players, who are a disgrace to the shirt. Nothing from the manager, who is turning into a major embarrassment. And nothing from the chairman and the board, just empty ramblings. No idea at all. Chris Brewster said it was a penalty all day. If it was us, I'd be shouting for it. Not really Warnock's fault. Players are making stupid decisions. The boy was running away from goal. No need for it. It's difficult not to disagree, Chris. Derek Robertson said, sometimes football is just cruel and there's no reasoning. It's true what they say. When you're down, the only luck you get is bad luck. We're in a lot of trouble right now, and we're going to have to claw ourselves out of it. Gavin Bush says, I don't have words anymore. I'm resigned to the fact it could be the playoffs for us. There's no fight in this team. Unlike 95, if we are in the playoff, I fear the worst. And Dave Cormack's non-statement doesn't fill me with hope either. Murray Wright, I'm still in disbelief. Lorraine Baxter has said she's still gutted. When the chips are down, they really are down. Warnock not and never was the man for the job. He has no clue about Scottish football. Neil McDonald said, good luck, Ali, with the show. It's just another Groundhog Day. It is. Ange Jameson said, only we could lose a game in the manner that we did yesterday. Absolutely devastating. Still gutted and heartbroken today. Have no words. I really don't. This hurts. Anna Simpson has said, I really don't know what the answer is. Warnock, a daft appointment. Why not leave Peter leaving until we got the new manager in? Kevin Turner, I'm just lost as what to say or think anymore. This is the lowest I think we've been as a club for many years. Even the statement from the chairman seemed insincere and lacking substance. Oh, so many of you, you're just... The gist of your messages are that you're just absolutely shell-shocked about what happened yesterday. And just so worried about where we go from here. And the general consensus and the wording that most of you used is, I'm at a complete loss. I have no words. I don't know what the answers are. That is the general feeling. Right, guys, how long have we done? Okay, so we've done nearly 40 minutes. So I think what I'll do is I'll call it a day. Listen, I'm really sorry if I didn't get to all of your comments. But again, thank you for leaving them all. And thank you so much for interacting as always. You know, the channel's doing really, really well at the moment. And that's down to you guys. You know, we're averaging 1,000 views per show, which is just absolutely phenomenal for what really is a niche market. So again, thank you for your continued support. And even though it's very dark days at the moment and we're going through a horrible time and a horrible period, I really hope you're still enjoying the shows at least, and we are trying to make some sort of sense of it all. So we've got a few days off now. So obviously the cup game on Saturday, so I'll be back for that, previewing that on Friday with singer Terry McDermott, all the way from New Orleans. He's going to be joining me for that. And I would really, I'm trying to get another sort of quickfire question and answer session in. So I'll try and get that in for the show as well. So guys, have a great week. Take good care of yourselves. And I will see you during the week. Stand free.